Yeah.
Elena, are we ready?
Yep. Do you want it?
I'll take it from you.
Right. That's fair.
Mike, how's it going?
Good.
Good to see you.
Right.
I never seen you so much.
Okay, hello everyone. We're gonna get started.
I was just curious because it was on time.
Okay, we're gonna start at 6:02. For those of you guys that don't know me, I'm Jessica, I'm the president. Gracie, I'm vice president. It's probably treasurer. Okay, go with membership.
Elena, secretary.
Okay, go ahead and take a look at the minutes from November. Have you guys looked that over, and I'll get a first and second motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from the November 2024 General PTO Meeting.
Thank you. Can I get a second? Thank you, motion approved. Okay, so we have some unfinished business from last week. I absolutely botched the voting last month, and I apologize for that. I got way ahead of myself and I did not vote properly. With that being said, we go by this book for the bylaws called the Robert's Rules of Order. I took it upon myself to kind of read through this entire book and just make sure that everything that we were doing was correct, we were voting correctly, the procedures were correct, and I kind of found a couple things in there that we are not doing correctly. So with that said, voting is going to look just a little bit different going forward. So the way that the voting is going to happen is teachers will bring this green form to us. They will present it. They'll talk about it, whatever. And then after they're done talking, we will do a first and second motion. What that motion means is when you do a first and second motion, that means that whatever the teachers just talked about, you want to talk about here and discuss it and vote on it. If you don't want to vote on it or discuss it, then no motion will be done. If nobody motions on it, then we're disregarding it. If we get a first and second motion, we'll be able to discuss. You guys can talk about pros, cons, questions for the teacher, whatever you guys have going on. Once we get the first and second, I already said that, sorry. Okay, so once all the questions have been asked and the discussion is over, I opted, there's 3 different ways of voting. One is saying aye. The other one is raising the hands. And then the other one is taking like a ballot. So I opted to do a hand. It's just clear, it's cleaner. We know who's in favor, who's not in favor. So I will say all in favor, please raise your hand. If you can keep your hand up, that way Gracie can take numbers and figure out how many of you there are. And then after that, I will say all opposed. Keep your hand up for all opposed. We'll count those hands. And then once voting has taken place, the majority wins. And so then I will say all in favor 1 or all opposed 1. And then I will say motion is approved or motion is denied. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Do you take votes online or only for those in person?
We heard the rules. We can take them online. I haven't looked into it too much because we have YouTube set up and I don't know if we have the comments.
We do have comments turned on so people could say like, my name is this person, I'm a member, and I'm voting yes or no. or whatever.
So we're only taking votes from members of the kids in school, right?
Like from here right now?
Yes, like kids that attend to school, like I have a kid who goes to Drew Elementary School, it would be just my vote if I'm a member, right?
Right, yes.
Not outside, okay.
Yes, yes, and you guys can only vote if you've paid your dues for this year, so dues are $10, $5 for extra for the second parent. If you guys have not paid your dues, then you are not able to vote. Is there any other questions?
I do. Is there any consideration for voting a different way for a ballot? Just because I feel like some people might feel more inclined to vote how they truly feel if they're not.
Yeah, so it was actually brought up by Elena to do like a QR code and putting it up on the screen. If we get enough requests, I'm open to scanning that QR code and then getting it in that way. And it would be presented right now, you know, all at the same time. Yeah. Anybody else? Okay, so with that being said, we do need to vote. Jesse, do you, sorry, I forgot we need Kylie. You might grab Kylie. In the meantime, while he's grabbing Kylie, we're gonna do the mascot vote. That is something that we voted on last time, but again, I botched the whole thing. So we're gonna vote on getting a mascot. It kind of wasn't clear last time, so we had put a cost of up to $2,000. And that's simply just because we have to get a customized costume if we want one. They have set costumes that are a set price, but those are super scary for like elementary kids, and we didn't really want to like scare them. So with that being said, I would, if this gets approved, then I would send in to 2 different companies for a costume. They'd customize it, they bring it back, we'd get the quotes. If it got approved, then I would bring it to you guys at the next meeting, what 2 costumes there are, and then we can vote on which costume we like the best. So that is why the cost is up to $2,000. It's just on the, it's between like $1,500 and $2,000 for a costume. So we just went on the higher end. So with that being said, can I get a first and second motion? And this is simply just to bring it to the table to discuss.
Yep, this guy. Mike Palmer.
Okay, thank you, Mike.
Thanks.
Stephanie Byers. Perfect. Okay, so at this point, it is open for discussion. If anybody wants to say anything or.
But is your sister has a kid in school that she can vote on it?
It is family.
It says that,
It is
that's
family.
my knowledge of the bylaws.
It's any family, guardian, or parent that's stated in the bylaws.
Okay.
Would anybody like to discuss it, or do we just want to vote on it?
Out of curiosity, do you have someone picked out already to wear the costume?
Oh my gosh, there's a lot.
Oh, good.
If there's a volunteer list, we'll get started.
I figured, sounds like you're interested. That's why.
So I wasn't here, I apologize, I'm not, but is it an adult mascot costume or a kid?
Yes, it would be an adult.
Oh.
Yeah, and you choose, I don't know what size we would do, but essentially you would have to choose a size. So I figured that out.
Wow. Was there talk of maybe, because I know in other schools, sometimes they'll have like a 5th grader be the, like there's one, you know, the kids will be the mascot, and it's kind of a 5th grade thing, or, you know, a kid thing, which I thought would be really cute.
Yeah,
That might be cheaper too.
yeah, I mean, it sounds like a lot of teachers and parents are like willing to get inside of the costume. So I'm open to it all.
So I'm, just to clarify, so we just, the vote was just to like look into bids for the mascot.
The vote is essentially to approve the mascot, and then once it's approved, I didn't want to go out and get quotes without it being approved.
Okay, so it's like a go ahead, like we're interested in a mascot, and then we'll come back with the financial piece, because I remember like last year, we have to have like very specific number amounts of like,
Right,
we're approving this number.
right.
Just because $2,000 seems like a lot of money to me.
Yeah,
And
so,
I mean, I haven't looked into them, it's a lot of money. It's a lot.
No, they're expensive.
Yeah, they're very expensive.
Expensive, yeah.
But they last a long time. So I did quite a bit of research, being that I'm very interested. On average, most schools that run a mascot costume and maintain it properly, they're like 12 to 15 years of life out of the product. So that's why they're more expensive than, a Halloween costume or a high-end, costume like that. So but the big thing that I was looking at though is care and maintenance isn't that difficult and it isn't that much like cost-wise. You get it dry cleaned every so often to make sure it doesn't smell or anything like that. So you don't have to do a ton of upkeep if you get a good one out the gate. Otherwise, you have a Jaguar with one eye by year 3 and the kids are scarred.
But we'll like approve that official amount when like the bids come back and we'll.
yes, yeah, and then we'll vote on which costume. I'll do 2 separate ones and we can vote on which one.
Maybe, I wonder, should we, the kids one, just to see?
We can put the kids one in there too. That'd be fine.
Just as far as like the list of people who want to volunteer and stuff, it is going to be approved, like people who have background checks and
Oh, it'll be.
absolutely. Okay, I'm just
Yes.
okay. And also, yeah, and just like
Most of them
we'll all know each time who is in there. And okay.
Most of them are teachers.
Yeah.
So poor Jill over here made a comment that since she's a PE teacher, nobody will miss her anyway.
More meant that at the assembly, like, the kids would notice if their classroom teacher just all of a sudden wasn't here. They wouldn't notice if I was not a part in the.
Yeah.
Like, they wouldn't be like, who's not here?
Get the song going.
Oh, yeah.
When I was a kid going to Bear Creek, we had the Bear Creek Bear mascot and a teacher wore it and every kid loved it. Every time we had an assembly, anytime we had an event, we had barbecues towards the end of the school year. The bear was out there with, they had music playing and the bears dancing. All the kids loved it. So when I heard about this, I was like, oh my gosh, this school needs a mascot. But it was always worn by a teacher.
Yeah, so the plan would be to have it worn at like first day of school by the vice principal, someone administrative level. That's not going to be there to greet your child and be like, oh, so it's teachers mainly, very limited parental volunteers. We're mostly offering this for teachers, administration, or first day of school, spirit week, fundraisers within our school, carnival, last day of school, stuff like that. It's not like a
Everyday thing.
It's not like an everyday thing. It is very much like a quality item that someone will need to be in charge of dry cleaning on a schedule, either biannually or annually at the end of the school year. That will be worked into the budget for next year. That's my plan. Personally, I'm voting no just because I want it to go to next year. So that way we can budget accordingly for care of item and just so that way we have the time to, there's no reason to take the time to pick out the options and do it and then just roll it into next year's funding. But if you want it this year, that's cool too. I think we're not behind, like we don't have a budget deficit. We've already budgeted not to meet the amount in savings prior. So there's no like catastrophic things on our end, but it's just how much visibility we want into the future.
If somebody wanted to donate some money towards this option.
I mean, if someone wants to donate to the PTO, we're always here and willing. And if they specifically would like that, there's no reason you can't donate and say, I would like this to be going towards that. I can provide reports for that.
Anybody else?
Just real quick, going back to Elise's point of just like budgeting and things like that, it might be worth just presenting different options, like what does $1,000 get you versus $2,000 or somewhere in between. That way, when we come back, people can actually see like, hey, the quality of this costume, it makes sense to spend the additional $500 or $1,000 or something like that. And then that point, people can prioritize, is this a want now, or is this something that we should push to next year, going back to Lisa's point?
I don't see any benefit from providing an outline between quality standards of if you buy a $900 costume versus a $2,000 costume. Just, it's there, it's online, it's, you know what we're voting on, you can find it, it's pretty obvious pretty quickly what the quality would be when you look at them. I just want to know how much you guys as members value it and would like to see it happen in monetary form.
I don't think I've ever been to an Elks game where elementary school children were chasing Vinny.
Oh, no, like there's 100%, I think a mascot is something that an elementary school should have.
Yeah.
It's just whether or not you want foresight with budgeting and expenses, or whether you have the information.
Anybody else?
Yeah, so is there things that we're going to be putting off by potentially doing this that might have been planned for before, or something, okay, well, we can't do this because now we're spending this up to $2,000 on?
Yeah, so that was what I was saying when looking forward, I don't see any issues that would come up and say, oh my gosh, we can't fund Carnival because of this. That's not the case at all. If anything, we're mostly, we are meeting, if not exceeding by not meeting the budget, if that makes sense. In all areas. Merchandise, we knew it was going like a question mark. But the thing is, the inventory it doesn't expire then. So we're not losing money, we're just not making as much as we thought this year. That will just be pushed into next year. And that just comes from not having the information because we didn't really sell it. So no, I don't foresee that we will have to cut anything to make this work. It's just purely how risk averse are you as a group and as an individual? I am pretty risk averse as a treasurer and as an accountant. I like to hold a decent amount, especially for a nonprofit. So this budget that y'all voted on in September wasn't even our complete, we still have a balance of expenses of about $7,000. And it's not going to do anything, it's just, I can't tell you what's gonna happen in March and what the finance, if it costs $200 for a packet of hot dogs, then, yeah, so just, it's fine, but
Anybody else?
Just to help with some of that, according to mascots.com, average first 5-year expenditure is $50 to $75 for cleaning, and then average management after that is around $100 to $150 until about the 10-year mark for rips, tears, velcro replacement, that kind of stuff. And then maintenance goes up from there slightly because it's an older costume. So, just so we have numbers on some of those.
yeah, it's not a huge amount, but
Yeah.
Is that, sorry, was that 50 to 75 in a calendar year?
Yeah, for dry cleaning, for, yeah,
Okay.
that kind of stuff, so.
Okay, we'll take it to a vote. Can I have all in favor? Please raise your hand. I like how your daughter raises her hand. Okay, go ahead, put your hand. Okay, all opposed, please raise your hand. Okay. All in favor, 1, the motion is approved. Next up, we have Kylie Jagger. Again, I apologize, I totally botched her thing as well, but it kind of worked out because she didn't give us everything, so we're gonna redo it.
Sure.
My name is Kylie Baker. I'm a third grade DI teacher. Currently, the kids are I presented this last time, but I was actually just right. I got the numbers wrong because we went off of the ask we did with PTO last year, and we had worked out kind of a half and half deal, so it was only actually half the accounts. So some of you may be familiar with this, some of you not. What it is we're trying to get funding for 4 RAS Kids reading licenses, and what those are is RAS Kids is a level reading program that provides books in English and Spanish. So it uses one of the common reading scales, which is Constant Now, and it has reading levels all the way up from basic, like super basic books, up to a higher level, and it lets the kids access books at their level, at their just right reading level, where it's going to challenge them to continue growing their reading ability in both English and Spanish. And this is particularly focused on our DI program as well as our newcomer kiddos in Jewel. And what that means is it's kids in our DI program that work in both languages throughout the day, as well as kids that come into our school and might be new to English or have that access for the first time. And they're like, you want me to read a book in English? What? So this helps break down that barrier for kids that are coming in, as well as our kids that are already here and that we're already serving. What it does is gives each kid access on their own iPad to a virtual format of the books in English and Spanish. So they have a library in English, a library in Spanish. They could be reading at a lower level in English and a higher level in Spanish, but they would have access to the perfect book for both of their languages at that point. It also allows us as teachers to print out physical copies of books, which would let us do small groups or let us send books home with kids so they can continue working at the level that's just right for them. And yeah, it would be used in DI classes as well as in our ELL classes, and sometimes just in average other neighborhood classes for kids that need a little extra support or could benefit from support in their home language as well.
What's the price on it?
So the price for each license is $248. So with 4, it's $992. I did talk to a guy and he was willing to give us a 10% discount for at least this year. So the overall price is down to $893 for 4 licenses, and that gets all of our DI classes, so kindergarten all the way up through 4th grade would have access, and then as well as our ELL teachers, English language learning teachers, so development and that kind of thing. They asked if they could get in on it for some of their kids, so we should have a fair amount of extra licenses if we get the 4 or extra profiles that we can give to them, in addition to just our DI program.
Okay, can I get a first motion to approve? Second, perfect. Okay, up for discussion, comments, questions for Kylie?
Out of curiosity, how many profiles can you have under one license?
We have 36 profiles under our license.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. So this would be
Serve.
affecting and reaching about around 150 kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this subscription like a calendar year, or will it go until like May of next year?
It goes until whenever we purchase it of next year. And there was an idea of putting it into like a yearly budget for future years if we all like it in a boot, so that could be budgeted forward.
Anybody else?
So, does Bear Creek use this program?
They have used it before. They used it in the past and then they leaned more into what the district offered. What we're finding is things like Epic, which are super popular, have really great books in English and really great level books in English, but it's lacking the Spanish side. And I know I used RAS Kids in Washington when I taught up there. We used it as part of our program all the way through high school. To a certain degree, they have different levels and things. And it was really just to hone in on those reading skills. So yes, scale back. But I actually, when I taught there, before I taught here, used it with my class and we saw some benefits. It was more we got stuck on that price point of figuring out how to happen it.
Would we just be doing it for this year and then next year would go into, do we want to do this and put it in the budget yearly?
That's kind of where we're sitting, is it's like maybe we try it this year and see if all the teachers and kids are benefiting, and then we talk about possibly adding it into the year. It could be easily.
Did you explore any multi-year discounts, assuming this year is successful and then we revisit it the following year? Like, is there incentives for 2 years or 3 years?
I need to work with the guy that I reached out to at Run, but he seemed like last year he offered us a similar deal. And so I think there's something to be had potentially. And I know it's when you order, I mean, usually when you have multiple licenses, they're like, oh, hey, that's some money.
Yes. Okay, we'll take a vote on it. All in favor, please raise your hands. I know. All opposed, raise your hand. Okay. Motion approved. I'm sorry. All in favor, one. Motion's approved. Okay, the next one is gonna be Elise talking about the printer we were talking about last month.
So, I had mentioned that because we switched over to having people use their personal printer to not having people use their personal printer for work, that printing costs are slightly higher than we expected. Not a huge amount, but enough that we would like to explore purchasing a color laser printer just for PTO. So you'll find it in your packets, what the printing cost was for the last 3 months, September, October, November. I took those costs and then I did a forecast and found how much it will cost us yearly, based on those numbers, and then how much it will cost us per page for 3 different types of printers. As far as I can tell, the only difference in laser printers is the speed and the quality of print. Neither of which are incredibly important since we're not doing super high volumes, but we are printing about 20,000 pages a year. So that's why they're already costs. The paper and the toner, same price, same cost. And then, so either way, whether or not we purchase a printer or we don't, we will be like slightly over on budget by $300. So, yes.
I was curious, I think it's a great idea.
We gotta do the first and second motion before.
Well, I just have a question. What about maintenance? Because as a teacher, who goes to print stuff, and there's always a printer that's dying. I would just be curious if we use our PTO budget to maintain it, if something needs to be fixed.
So that is built into the cost of
Oh, it is.
toner.
Okay.
And then, so as far as maintenance goes, this isn't one of those huge, like really, like it's not a giant piece of machinery. It's just like it's a basic laser printer, black, white. It's not going to do super high quality color because it's a laser printer, but it's going to be cheap.
I get a first and a second motion. Okay, can I get a second? Okay. Discussion? Any questions, comments?
Where will the printer be kept?
That is the question. We would try to ask for approval to have it somewhere in the school. Just it would make more sense. So people, when they print materials for flyers and stuff. Or it would have to live at.
Sorry, I might have, because I was checking on it. I missed the cost.
Oh, so the cost is, the printer itself is anywhere between $340 and $400. And then we do about 20,000 pages per year. So the paper cost is about $300 per year, just for paper. After this year, we're in the middle of the year, so we have slightly different figures the first year. But this is like long-term cost. And then toner is about $600.
So the $300 printing cost, you said, is that equal for whether you print in color or in black and white? Or is it an additional fee to print color every time?
So I actually went through That's again, I went through the receipts and got the percentage of black and white to, color pages that we did, and in the formulas I used to find the numbers in there. I did the percentage that we used. So it's two cost equations broken down by two options, and then at the very end, so it's total and it's accurate to type.
Anybody else?
And then if I remember right, there is budget this year for your, like you use an off-site printer, someone to print, correct? And so and this, we're hoping is like the $900 yearly cost between
So-
paper and toner.
Yeah,
would be
because
less than what you're paying.
So once the cost of the printer is recouped, yes, it will be cheaper to use the printer. But especially because, so the printing expenses, the reason they're gradated is because in the budget, the different line items, some go, like printing sometimes goes towards administration, sometimes it goes to mini mutters, sometimes it goes to different, so it's not just, so that's why I gave it to you all right there, every single printing expense across all categories. So we budgeted $500 for administrative, like PTO meeting and support. So like the blue, we're on track to be over that by about $200, which is about, but at the same time, then you add in mini mutter, you add in all these other extracurricular, like, things that we want to tell you. So, I mean, that's another thing. Do you want us to, like, you don't want to, somehow we have to print it. So we can pay someone to print it for us, or we can pay to maintain it. Either way, we're paying.
The other thing to just keep in mind is, so here at the school, we have printers, we have copiers, and then we have the print shop. So most expensive is the printers, the next most expensive is the copiers in the building, and the least expensive is the print shop. But print shop takes a lot of planning ahead, because it'll take anywhere from a week to 10 days before you get that back. So we call them convenience clicks, which is where we use the copier because we're like, oh, we have to get this out, and we didn't have time to set up a printer. So the benefit of having a printer that you guys would just have would be if you're like, oh, there's this thing coming up that we hadn't planned on, or it's a real cool opportunity, but it's kind of a short window, you would actually have the ability to print it and then not.
And on those ones, we've been just using our personal printers, because those inevitably happen.
The PTO can use the print shop though, correct, or no?
We can. I have looked into it, but just like Jesse said, it takes a lot longer. You have to submit things because our priority would be very low compared to staff in the buildings. And we're talking about 13 schools plus the other departments.
I think the location piece of the printer seems kind of important to me, just because if the printer is being moved from, like, say, a home to another home to fill out potential for
It would need to stay, like, once we found a spot in the school, it would need to stay in the school, and then the next year, someone else is like, nope, the printer doesn't get to stay there, it would stay in someone's house the entire year. And they're the printer, like, that's just.
There are options for carrying cases and different things as well, which when I was in the service, we had one, even though it stayed in the same spot all the time, there was rules that they
I mean, they're really
break things.
pretty.
Yeah, so they make some pretty
But I agree that it would
hardcore
take-
Pelican cases.
I don't wanna have to manage the printer. So-
Agreed.
I just think of like a home and young kids and pets and like,
Yeah.
all the possibilities of something going wrong and then.
Have you found print shop to be a big delay in the past?
They've never utilized it because of the amount of time that the notice that we have to get the print shop.
What is the time span?
Anywhere from 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah, because we're not,
Right.
we're just an
I just was
affiliate,
curious
yeah.
when,
And I think in the past it has been where they done a lot of printing on their own devices or using.
Run in the past with print out, if you've done print out.
I did research it because I work at the Ed Center, and that's the information that I gave. And Brian was very helpful, but he was like, you know, your best option is not to use the print.
Okay.
Cedra?
But if we have a schedule, like if we plan the stuff ahead of time, we should be able to submit like paperwork to get the mini matter printer stuff or the carnival. Because if you send this 3 weeks, I think if we know when are we having the mini matter, we should be able to submit to get prints, don't we? Can we not?
I can agree with that. However, with it being a new board, I don't know how you guys felt, but with it being a new board, you're kind of just thrown into things and you're like, oh my gosh, I forgot to do this. Oh my gosh, I need to print this. Oh my gosh, I forgot about this. You know what I mean? So we're just now like
Dates
finally,
change, links change.
we're
QR
just now
codes
finally like
change.
starting to breathe, and now
Yeah.
we can like plan.
I personally wouldn't sign up for a volunteer position to do like that amount of lead time. It's just not gonna happen. Yeah, we cannot get dates a month in advance or times and QR codes. It could happen 50% of the time for some of our like more like the bigger ones maybe. But even so, like all the little tiny pieces of communication.
Plus the translating.
Yeah.
But we like the carnival, we already have a set up date.
We have the date, but we don't have any of the other information to provide.
That's one, but for like the mini matter, you also have a set up date, so we should be able to send out a request right when school starts. And so, okay, can we get it by October? That's when we get the mini matter.
And I
So
understand that the beginning of the year is not a good time because you have all the staff coming back and they're putting in their orders, which is why I initially looked into it and found that Brian's like, I can't guarantee that you would get any of that before the date that we needed it.
I do have to table this because we have other things for tonight, so if we're not ready to vote on it, I do have to table it for next month. Would you guys like me to table it for next month, or would we like to vote on it?
Can we, if we table it until next month, can we like come up with where we're gonna store it between now and then and have, because I feel like that's a big question that a lot of people are concerned about.
And I don't even mind, I store all of the merchandise at my house, so if I need to store it, then I will. It'd be nice to have somewhere at the school, so everyone can
Have access.
Yeah.
So
I'm confident that we can find a spot in the school. Off the top of my head, I don't know exactly where, but there is enough space and nooks and crannies that we can put it somewhere where everyone knows, board knows where it is, and then it would only be attached to your guys' computer, so it wouldn't be accidentally used by our staff, and it wouldn't be served by our staff.
would we like to vote on it?
I have another question before the vote. So I think you said that we're roughly $200 to $300 planned for over budget for the year, by the end of the year. And then the cost is roughly $900. So it's like a 3-year recoup. Am I?
So for option, so if you go down to the very bottom of the page, you'll see this is the forecasted cost that anyone is interested in seeing the equations or the data that I pulled from, please email me. So the forecasted cost for printing services for the total school year, this is for the school year that we are in session for PTO, $1,184. The forecasted cost, if we bought a printer, would be $1,393. That's including the first bit of printing we did using a service and the addition of buying a printer, the paper, the toner for this year, which is less than next year, because next year we'll be printing the whole way through. Does that make sense? That's why you see cost is different, because we've already used a printing service for 4 months. So I'm projecting, okay, we did it this way for the finishing of the year. How much is that? It looks to be about a difference of $200. So we will pay $200 more, I'm forecasting, if we buy a printer. This year. Next year, when the printer is already purchased, we've wrote off the price, like the unit cost to the accounting books for this year. If we are expecting $898 if we print it ourselves.
So it drops.
It drops.
Yeah.
Because this year I'm expecting to pay at least $1,200 for printing services.
Right.
So I'm saying we're gonna be saving, but we're front loading it to the price of the unit, making it easier for us to be able to contact you guys and get stuff into school, like boxes and bins and stuff. And yeah, so it's not a huge amount of savings. It's a huge amount of ease, I know, for like our secretary and membership.
Yeah, is that what you guys would prefer? Those of you that are volunteering and working, would you rather have the printer or would you rather have the service? Is there gonna be printing and stapling and separating?
I mean, it's not up to us, like, it's a financial decision, and anyone who like volunteers, you know what it's like, so it's whatever. But yes, it is easier for us if we've got a printer.
Okay.
Is there anybody that would like to table this for next month to continue the discussion? Okay. Can I have all in favor, please raise your hands. Okay, all opposed, please raise your hands. Okay, all in favor, 1, motion is approved. Next up, we have Sarah Perdom.
Okay, I was like, where am I? I know that I'm on.
You're on there.
Okay, I wanted to turn on, because I have a little visual to go with my past. Oh, I should have brought my little paperwork. Well, while this warms up. Okay, so I'm on the committee to pick an artist in residence. And I'm with Rebecca, so we're both going to present and give you 2 options. So first, I'm going to go and get my little... Okay, so I found a woman. So first of all, back in the day, well, first of all, I'm Sarah Perdom, I teach 3rd grade. I've been teaching here since 2003. So I have a lot of experience with Jewel, with artists in residence. And back in the day, we used to have a catalog that we would just simply pick out of and, you know, kind of shop around. And really the end of the art station that if you remember the art station, that kind of left and now we really have to do this legwork ourselves to find an artist. So we contacted other schools, and a lot of other schools have used this woman named Sarah Swaffer, and she is a former teacher turned artist, or art teacher. She used to work at Westside Village, and she does some really cool different things within the community. My proposal is a mural, and the deal with Ben Lapine is you can't paint on walls, you have to paint on like wood. So it would be 9 panels. I think it's about 3 weeks. I'm a little fuzzy on how long it would be. Each class would have 45 minutes with the artist. And really what I want to show you is some samples of her work. This is what they did at Westside Village. She has it scaffolded, so like the younger kids more do broader strokes within it. The older kids do some of the more fine tuning touches. Let's see. This is a piece that she did at City Fest. It's a salmon jumping through the ocean. Her works are really gorgeous. This big, huge mountain scene is another one of her. This is more of an example of probably what we would do as far as this size. Some places our committee talked about having it was in the gym. Like as you're watching, let's say the music program, the lip sync, you're facing this wall and it would be above there. We're working also with maintenance to approve. They haven't gotten back to us as far as the specifics, can we hang it in a certain place, but we're looking at the gym. Maybe that new area between the cafeteria and the music room. There's a big couple blank walls there. And another option, she says, is even to have these panels in different parts of the school.
So we could have it throughout the school. It depends on what we want to do. And she's an amazing artist, so we could give her our vision and she'll come up with kind of a design that we'll approve. And if you go with this one, I could come back to you with some designs. Here's another one. She's painting. It's like on the side of a container. Ours again would be panels. So yeah, that's some more details, like maybe how much does it cost? It's $2,880. That includes her time plus supplies. The other thing is she does need volunteers to help this run. We would have her set up in one spot and ask for some volunteers to kind of help with the different, it could be like each class has their own volunteers, or maybe we have some people who just do shifts during the day, but that's kind of a nitty gritty detail. I'm still giving you kind of some big picture stuff. That's
How much is that one?
2,880.
And just so you guys know, we have two different options. So we already budgeted for this. We budgeted $6,000 for this to happen. And I know that there was talk last year about having two different options. So this is just one option that we have, and then we've got another option that will be presented. Yeah, go ahead.
All right.
You done, sir?
On this,
Fine.
Okay.
Do you need the machine?
No.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Once she presents, and we'll do a first and second motion, and then we'll be able to ask some questions.
Yeah, so what we did is we kind of put it out there to all the teachers to funnel any ideas and sources to us, and then we as a committee kind of funneled it even further to give you guys just two options. And so the other one is with Beat Children's Theater. They put together a proposal for us that would, we do MCT, so it wouldn't be a school-wide performance, but what it would be is a theater skills-based exploration of words and how we present them. So there's a couple of different options, but there are, a number of rewind scenes which sounds hilarious and fun, where they go through certain lines, they perform, and then they physically rewind the scene. And the big thing about this one was that it is bilingual, so they have bilingual coaches and professors, and the performances would be bilingual. So what it would be is there's word performance as if scenes. I know a couple of years ago, somebody had, somehow we got beat in my classroom, and they did nothing like this, but they did some workshops essentially, and the kids had so much fun. There was no product at the end of it, and so what this is Beat would work with each class and help choose one of those formats. So there's like 3 different formats for performances, and then they would work on that. There would be 2 to 3 sessions to prepare a presentation that would be filmed, and they would do that. The final film clips would be edited together to make a 15 to 20 minute video that can be shared with the whole school, family, and friends. So that would be something that would live on, right? So we wouldn't have to worry about putting a whole performance together and parents coming in and all of that. It would be each class doing their thing, and then they would film it and make it fun and neat. And so then you guys would have that for the kids, from the kids, of the kids. And it's 3 45-minute sessions per class. And she talks through about what each session would look like. But essentially the final session is filming the performances. And it's $35 for each session. So if you take 3 classes, 3 sessions, for each grade, if there's 3 classes and 3 sessions each, for 6 grade levels, my math says $1,890.
Okay, can I get a first and a second motion?
I see you over there.
Okay, up for discussion, any questions for either of them?
I have a question about the art. So
Sure.
you talked about different locations. Is
Yeah.
that something where the art could stay there, and then if it was approved for the budget again, then the next year potentially it could go in the other location? We'd still have like the gym, and then we'd have maybe over by the cafeteria, and then so it could kind of go back and forth, where the original art would stay there for, then it would be like 2 years. And then, like, is that something that art
Are you
stays there
saying-
all year? And then it gets redone with the 6 panels or 9
No,
panels?
I
or
mean,
however many
like that quilt art, that's been up there for like 12 years. I mean, we're gonna put it up and it's just gonna stay.
So it's not
For a long
annual
time.
cost?
It's- No, this
one-time
is just a
cost.
one shot. This is just like, get it up there for a decade. And
Okay,
it's like a
cool.
legacy art.
If we voted for the art one, we
Yeah.
would put that up and it would decorate the school for as long as it lasts.
Yeah.
And then next year, maybe we say, you know what, they did the art, now maybe we want to do the drama, or there's another artist that comes to the front during the year. So we could choose this one kind of in isolation. If we did the acting, then we could be like, hey, we really like that art idea, let's do that one next year. So whichever one we pick could be,
Oh, cool.
could be. And then, that art has been up for a long time. We had another piece that ended up getting taken down, but we've moved it to another spot. So we've done artists in residence before. While you guys are talking, I'll get a couple other examples of some of the art.
Cool.
Sorry, I'll be quick. I'm just curious about the art option. So every student gets a chance to participate in the product.
Yeah.
How many days does it take?
She has an hour and a half per class to play 2 45-minute sessions per class.
So this was another art thing that we did early in my time at Jewel. When was this? 2007. This was, they called it Art for the Sky. You remember this one?
Yeah, I sure do.
Oh, yeah. So this was every kid, we got a t-shirt, and then we, out on this field, they covered the grass with bark chips. I don't know how they got permission to do that. And then they kind of drew certain parts of it, and then the whole school is laid out in their certain colors, creating, and he was up in a lift, like a scissor lift kind of thing, took the picture, then we had an assembly to present it. I have no idea how much this cost, but it was like maybe an hour worth of our time and created this. So what we're talking about would be much more involved and much more I think interesting for the students than this was, but still kind of a cool thing to look back on. So kids can still come and be like, I was right here, and this kid was next to me. During our reunion, they were doing that. They were talking about, oh, that was me right there. You can see me. I'm looking at the camera. We weren't supposed to, but I was.
Jill.
Sarah, can I comment on your mural?
Sure.
Because I was talking with you earlier, or the mural option. What it sounds like is it's 8 different panels that are 4 feet by 8 feet. And so then it's split, like the school, there's 18 groups. And so there's 9 panels. So 2 classes, what she does is she creates like the outline and then she puts numbers in. And so the kids follow the number, the number 2 is colored tan or whatever, and then they help follow that. And so they're working on one section of the panel. And so then they can see when their art comes together with all the other pieces, it makes one together.
If we have it in the budget, can we have both of them?
We thought about that. We did say, like, what if they want both? My caveat with both is I don't think we can physically fit it in to our schedules. I mean, we are already
But
barely
can we
able.
get it for the beginning of the year, like the school year, to the Spanish and English speaking?
Yeah,
Put it in the budget and just have it ready for next year.
Get it
That would-
scheduled
yeah,
with the
because
beach.
they book up quickly, so like even B Theater right now is saying they can only do it in the spring.
Yeah, my person isn't available till the spring.
Is it a guarantee that we'll be able to actually put that on the wall, or is there still a chance that the district comes back and says,
Oh, yeah.
no go?
Yeah, we're in contact with them.
Sarah has some experience and some trauma around that.
I have had some.
We're talking with the district about how to do it. We can put it up on the wall. The question is how and when we would be able to do that. We can't paint it. But just leave it back door unlocked.
We'll get a lift in here.
We're not allowed to paint it on the wall. Other schools have made that mistake and then it got painted over. So we've learned from their mistakes, and this would be a panel that we can put where we want to put it. We have talked about putting it on this wood area at the library so people see it all the time, but the gym is so drab, that would be a wonderful spot to be able to put it. And so I fully endorse that, and I think that'd be a wonderful spot. And it may just be a matter of we put it in the work order and they hang it for us.
For both of you, do you have a specific date range that they had considered? Because when you say spring, we also have MCT coming up in the spring, so kind of having an idea of when that might be.
I mean, April, May is what I can say. I know March is out of the question because we're doing the jumble, but the time we have is MCT doesn't take any time during the day from teachers.
Okay.
So.
And roughly the same for the B? Okay. Renee, did you have a question?
Just my last question is your person bilingual or just English?
No, but she was a former classroom teacher, so she does have the management as far as that goes.
Be a way to make sure that Spanish-speaking students would be able to fully engage in that project?
I mean, their teachers are going to be with them while they're doing it. So, I mean, I don't know.
We'll translate.
So we do have to vote on which one we're gonna do, that way they can get it on the books, otherwise we're not gonna be able to do it this year. So I guess instead of saying, well, all in favor, raise your hand for hers.
For art?
For the art?
Yeah, sorry, for Sarah's. Okay, go ahead and put your hands down, all in favor for Rebecca's, raise your hand.
For beat.
Beat. Sorry, beat.
We're together.
Okay, Sarah's thing won. Okay, we're running super behind on time, so real quick, Elise is gonna do the treasure report on Panda Express and Mini Letter.
Yes, we had Panda Express. It did not raise a ton, but I think maybe some of you guys had it last year. It was pretty busy. But my husband said that it wasn't busy this time, so maybe they figured it out. But either way, it was $146. So, I mean, not bad for some Chinese food. Everything is as expected budget-wise. I fixed, the only thing to note is I took out all of the fees generated from Square out of like expenses. I was getting tired of seeing them there. So I did that and I wrapped it back into the income for merchandise. So I took their net instead of gross. So that's why it might look a little different from last month, previous months. If you're like, why is it going down? It's because of the structures and the way that I'm doing the accounting. Either way they're accounted for, I just didn't want to see them in expenses as they're not a true expense that you need to see. Because it's going to happen regardless of whatever. Any questions about the budget, where we are financially, what we're doing?
Can I ask really quick, the art and culture, I spent within this last month of doing $17
Oh yeah, I've got all of them. So arts and culture this month was the bingo night. We printed and copying, $23. We spent money on snacks and beverages of $100. We spent $100 on prizes. So bingo night, slotteria, stuff like that, that's going to be just an event we host that we don't charge. And that's already factored into the budget we voted on in September. Movie nights, we will be having like concessions for people. Those are those expenses. Anyone else?
Just something about the Panda Express thing. I went there at noon and they had no idea what I was talking about.
Really?
So maybe a same day touch on that might have helped.
I did.
Yeah. The manager, the tall guy that's there that runs the whole thing, he was like, I gotta set up a way for that to happen at noon. And so I had, like, there were other parents that were there that I'm assuming might have had that never happened before that.
Maybe I'll end it.
Something just to think about for.
We also didn't
You think I'm
raise as
joking?
much.
No.
We also didn't raise as much this year as we did last year because Panda was just opening.
Yeah,
So
it
it was
was-
like 50% as opposed to this time it was only 20%.
And y'all were really excited because we just got our panda, right? So.
Okay.
I ate there twice.
So nice. Thank you for doing your part there.
Okay, treasury's done. Okay, number 5, announcements and upcoming events. Right now, we currently have our giving tree. It ends December 18th. It's out in the front hallway. There's tons of tags on there, so get some tags, bring them back to the school. We'll keep refilling it. We have our holiday book fair. There were so many teachers today that helped me set that up. Thank you so much. That saved me a ton of time. So that'll start on Wednesday and it'll go through Friday. We have movie and pizza night, January 16th. We are currently trying to figure out what movie, so we have not set that yet. December birthdays, we have Chi Komaki, sorry, Steve Chavez and Jamie Ruiz. And next up, we have news from the principal.
Yeah, just to continue the events, we have a first grade music performance that's happening this Thursday, December 12th, at 5:30. And then on December 19th, next Thursday, is going to be a third grade performance starting at 5:30 and a fifth grade performance starting at 7 o'clock. So those are all for those grades, but anybody is welcome to come. And they're asking that the kids show up about 15 minutes beforehand. So information has gone out. It'll go out again before the performance. I think the first grade actually just had a message go out to those parents today. We also have in January coming up the Youth Truth Survey again. So we've done this for a number of years, maybe 5, 6 years, something like that. Maybe it hasn't been that long. But the Youth Truth is we partner with the Youth Truth organization. It's a survey that we do across the district. In middle and high school, they ask the students to also answer the questions, so your kids, as they grow up, will have a chance to answer it themselves. But it's really asking our community and our parents questions about how we're doing as schools, how we're doing as a district, how we're doing around communication, how we're doing around that you know what your kids are expected to do and be able to do at school, ways that we're welcoming in the community, how comfortable you guys feel coming into the building, questions like that to really help us and give us feedback so that we can continue to improve and continue to work on our practice. This year, our staff has really been working hard on belonging, creating a sense of belonging for our teachers and our community here, for our students, but then also for the families and parents. And so we want to see how we're doing that. We're going to have different ways that we're encouraging families to fill out the survey. We ask that one parent per kid fill out the survey. So I would be filling out 2 for my 2 daughters that go here. And last year I got to fill out 3 because I had 3 kids at the school. So anybody who has multiple kids, you can assign to each spouse, or if one just wants to do it, they can do it as well. And it's really just asking, like, for that grade level, for your one kid, kind of isolate a little bit and think about that kid. How are things going? What am I feeling? And then you kind of do it again for the other student. And it may be a little different depending on the grade level, depending on kind of what you expect. Like 5th grade, maybe you expect to hear a lot more about their academics. And in kindergarten, you're like, as long as they're working on reading and they're loving school, then I'm happy. So your answers might change a little bit. But we encourage you guys to take that. That'll be happening right after the break. Lots of information will come out throughout the month, encouraging you guys to do that.
I assume that's a digital survey.
It's a digital survey. Yep. It's a link we'll send out. It'll be on QR codes and links and multiple different places, lots of different ways. Any questions for me about the school or about how things are going?
Okay.
I love that idea. Okay. We are one of the few schools that I know of that allow kids to bring toys to play with on the playground. The main reason that schools don't have kids bring any toys is because it creates a bit of a logistical nightmare. When you have 437 kids who potentially could bring up to 5 or 6 toys each, and then you have kids who think that toy is really cool and want to play with it, and then they break it, and then the first kid is really sad and goes home and is upset with parents. So we have been able to manage that and navigate that fairly well. I would say, but it has started to get a little interesting and a little out of hand. We've had stuffies that are almost as big as me that have been coming in for stuffy days. We've had remote control cars that have been coming in, and that's been a hard line that we've said that's not allowed, but kids don't realize that that's not allowed. And we've had toys that make noise and go off in the middle of class and distract everybody from the learning environment. So one of our committees, similar to the art committee that presented about the artists in residence, and that was a committee of 5 people doing an amazing amount of work, creating culture and community for our school. So they're the ones who are coming up with the plans for the artists in residence. They also created the plans for the Jewel Jumble, which we'll talk about at another time. This is a different committee that's similar, and it's talking about the norms that we have in the building. So they came up with a kind of an advisement. We're going to adopt that, and basically the parameters are kids are still allowed to bring toys, but they have to fit in their backpack. The backpack has to be able to zip. We encourage them to put their names on it, not to bring anything that's fragile or valuable, that they're going to be really sad. I tell my daughters, that is one of your favorites, we're not taking it to school, because who knows what's going to happen. We also are asking if they want to bring sports equipment, they can, but we're not allowed to have any hard baseballs or any hard lacrosse balls, because flying stuff across the playground when kids are running, we've had injuries. If they want to bring a wiffle ball bat, that's the only thing that they can bring that doesn't fit in a backpack, and it has to be a wiffle ball bat, not a regular hard wooden or metal bat. No electronic things, so like things that make noise or remote control cars, those aren't allowed. But
Walkie-talkies.
And walkie-talkies, yeah. That's my daughter has brought those. It's going to be a flyer. We're getting it translated right now, so we'll be sending that out before winter break, and then that'll go into effect after winter break, just to cut down on some of the chaos that happens. The other element of it is that we're going to treat toys similar to the way we treat cell phones and smartwatches, that they are off and away in the backpack during the school day. So obviously they're not off because they can't bring electronic toys, but they're away in the backpack. If a student really struggles with that and has it out and it's distracting them during the day, the teacher is going to give them some warnings, and then the next step is a contact out to you guys as parents to help us with this. Johnny is having trouble. He keeps on getting his Pokemon cards out and looking at them during class. Can you help us with that? And then the next step would be a call from me or Eric Brocker, the vice principal, kind of problem solving with you, and it may mean that we say that student isn't able to bring toys for a while. And then that would be a slow process back, so it's a learning chance for them. They say, okay, I can bring Pokemon cards to play with my friends at recess, but I can't have them out, lesson learned, and then they can move forward with that. Questions about that? Yeah, that information will come out before break, and then we'll have that policy go into effect after. Thank you.
Next up, we have Jill, the teacher rep. Jill Johnson.
I don't have anything.
Perfect. Okay, we have Carnival.
Oh, that's me. We're behind, I can tell you that right now. Last year we started in November and we're almost to the middle of December. So I have been pushing donation requests out to bigger companies, asking, giving them the information. But right now we are in need of committee chairs or committee volunteers in general, because we need to start meeting right now probably on a weekly to bi-weekly basis, because we only have January and February essentially, because Carnival is the first Friday. It's March 7th. So we are very far behind. So if you can either contact us through the email, we have a sign up genius for committee chair positions, but it's really, really imperative. This is one of a very large event that we host, and we have expectations from last year because we did too good of a job, I would say. So yeah, if you could just touch base with us through email or me directly after the meeting or anytime, that would be excellent.
How much are we trying to raise?
Carnival ticket sales last year were, $4,493. We last year.
Yeah.
We did.
Okay.
We budgeted for substantially less than last year as income, just because we knew that we might not have enough volunteers to make it happen. So it's not, this was our lowest.
I have reached out to the JROTC, that's based from Mountain View, to come out and help volunteer, in other areas. And we also have the Youth Challenge group that will be back again this year. So that's 14 for Youth Challenge and 1 adult, and then the JROTC.
I could reach out to the Key Club at Caldera High. They're really active here on Thursdays at Jewel. There's probably about 30 of them,
Yeah.
80 hours.
That would be great.
So I'd be happy to do that.
A lot of them are former students at Jewel, so they'll know.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What else do you need help with?
Anything and everything. Like, we have a food committee, we have a decoration committee, we have an overall chair, we have game committee.
Do you have them or you need them?
We need them.
Got it.
So we just need people to kind of head and be able to say, oh, like the hot dogs need, like I've got food, hot dogs are purchased, cotton candy, like that's their task, they take that. It's pretty much done from last year, but you need to, someone needs to pick it up.
Research too, the prices can be
So
different.
for that, for food, decorations, if you have a thing, like a theme that you want to champion, you can work on that.
Where are the sign-up sheets? The sign-up sheets for those, are they created or are they?
We brought them. The sign-up geniuses are available on our website, so on the Jewel PTO website, and then also like we can post them on we can put a blast out on Facebook too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Christian, do you have a list of places you've contacted already?
Yes. We do keep a updated donation list. Elise did a fabulous job last year. She was in charge of the silent auction and raffle. So I've just taken that and formulated it for this year. I can share it. I'll work with Elena on doing that if you are really interested. Mary did a great job last year too. And it's just really going around and asking for donations. We have a letter we can provide. You can use that as a tax benefit for them too, so.
One more question, something kind of new to this. Is the carnival, is the idea just to cover the cost of putting the event on, or is it actually to make extra revenue on top of the cost of the event?
2 years ago, they did not make any revenue.
Okay.
They actually lost. So last year, we basically started, just building the process, and we were able to bring in profits.
Okay.
So our expenses weren't
COVID,
as high.
it used to be a fundraising event prior to COVID. It's been the fundraising event since my husband went here. So it's been that way forever.
Sure.
Then COVID came and so then the prior board decided to kind of make it more of like a fun family event, just to get people back out of the house. And now, just last year, we decided to make it a fundraising event again. But the board next year might.
They might change, yeah. Anybody else?
It sounds like everything's like planned out, so like if someone who's never, we're like barely knowing what carnival is, but if we signed up, someone would say like, here's how much cotton candy you should, it's like a
Yes.
binder that would say, great.
Yes, we
Cool.
do have all
So we
of
can
that
sign up blind.
information and-
Yeah, we have
Okay.
a lot of.
There's a lot of people here at the meeting that did it last year, so we have all the information.
Yes.
Yeah, we won't expect you to like just wait and be like, figure it out
Okay.
now.
We
And
know
we'll
what
be like,
things, yeah, what worked, what didn't work, what we can improve on.
Anybody else? Okay, I'm gonna table some of this stuff. We're gonna have Mike Martinez, he's got a playground update, and then we're gonna do the bylaws addendum. We're gonna vote on that. Those are gonna be the last two things that we're gonna do for tonight, and then everything else is gonna be tabled for next month.
We're gonna do it together. We'll try to catch up on time and go as quickly as we can. So I'm Renee again. I am a second grader in the dual immersion class, and I'm the chair this year of the playground committee that started
a year-ish ago, and Mike was the chair before that. This is Mike Martinez. So we're gonna vote on the addendum. This is just to give you some information about where the project started and where we're at now. And that way you have some information to go into that vote to addend our bylaws to open a savings account. We're really close to fundraising, and Keith reached out to DR Horton, and they're interested in maybe funding this project a little bit. So it's just getting very exciting. So just want to share it with you all. So this is our committee, which is a very official name, but we're thinking of it more like a work group. These people have contributed in different varying ways, but some of the people who've been involved, which is amazing. And if you're here, you could raise your hand. We could see who you are. Thank you. So in October, we had our first committee meeting and did a brainstorming session. Why are we here? What do we want? Why do we want this project? Why do we want to fund it? And this is like a summary of a really fantastic conversation we had where new ideas that I hadn't thought of came up, which was amazing. So top of it is inclusivity for all students, including different mobility, sensory, temporary mobility limitations. So that is huge. And then providing a safe and exciting environment for students. So our structure is older and been there a while, and now there's really new exciting structures that encourage engagement and play. And the next one's about imaginative play. Interpersonal skill development across students of all abilities. We hope to see all students having an opportunity to play together with limited staff interaction so that they can grow and be social and learn together in that manner. Community, our playground is used by more than just our school. It's used by everybody around here, so it'd be just really exciting to provide something new and inclusive for everybody around here. And I already mentioned outdated structure. Anything I missed, Mike, on that?
No, you nailed it. But before you proceed to the next slide, I think I'm next, yeah?
Yes.
Okay, before we get to the next slide, which is really where we're gonna also talk about current state of the playground, I'm really curious to see if you guys know much about your school district, but question for you, this little pop quiz, using one hand, because the answer is on one hand, how many playground certified safety inspectors do you think we have on staff at the school district? Yeah, I see one. I see a goose egg. It is a goose egg. So that is the wonderful state of, when we go to the next slide here, that is what you get when you have 0 people looking at your playground, is we are in dire need of both repairs or at this point, honestly, replacement. I am 36 or 37 years old. I'm pretty sure the structure dates me at this point, or pretty darn close. To be honest with you, at this point, this was kind of flying under the radar at the school district up until I started asking questions last school year. Again, they had no one on staff. It was really one of those things where I started asking questions of how do we budget for stuff like this? Like, where does the money go? Again, when you have no one inspecting and you have a shoestring budget, this is kind of the state of what you get with your playground. So, kind of 2 drivers here in terms of why we're starting this project or why we're running with this project now is, again, aging equipment, safety concerns. I spoke with Scott, who was the old principal back in the day, and I just was curious because he was part of these conversations, is have we had incidents of kids injuring themselves in the playground? And it was yes, we've had incidents of concussions, things along those lines. You'll notice that we've done, or the school district has done everything they can with things like the rubber coatings have peeled off of the structure, so they've improvised some wonderful mats that are now tripping hazards. On the play structure, you can see anti-slip coatings have completely stripped off of certain structures, so wonderful, nice slipping hazard for your kids, so on and so forth. You get the idea. Next piece, which again goes back to, when I was speaking with the school district, inclusive playground was never a thing 30 plus years ago, right? It was never a conversation was ever had. So what they really did was they tried to adapt, which is what you get with that little concrete ramp that you have into bark chips. Again, if you look at any modern playground nowadays, you'll notice bark chips aren't really a thing you see nowadays because it is hard to traverse if you have, again, different accommodations, right? So this technically meets or ticks the box, but it's not ideal. I've had my son come to me directly saying, "Hey Dad, why are there certain kids restricted to the blacktop?" Right? That's not cool as a parent. So again, the idea here is that we want to create something that's both safe for your kids, but also allows them to have everyone participate in this way. I'm gonna stop there. Questions? And back to you.
Is it back to me?
Oh no, maybe it's still.
Let's see what the next slide is.
Yeah, so we're gonna talk about timeline. Again, a lot of stuff has been done, and it's also late. I woke up early, so forgive me. So kind of talking a bit about what's been done. So again, this project started last school year. And again, this was just me as a parent just starting the conversation. I live across the street. I bring my son over here to play on the play structure. And one of the first things that really stood out to me was, man, this thing's in rough shape. So just emailing the PTO at that time saying, hey, are there any plans for this? And at the time, Christina, the old president, was like, no, but let's have a conversation about it. So that's where this thing started. Since then, I've had multiple conversations, multiple meetings with the school district, just kind of getting a better understanding of what is a district's approach. And again, that's kind of when they started opening up their eyes and realizing, oh, parents are paying attention. We need to start looking at the state of our structures. And so that's what got the conversation started with the school district, where they hired an insurance company, or their insurance company, to bring an inspector out and begin assessing all of their play structures. No surprise, there's a lot of issues district-wide, ours being one of them. The lovely answer that we get is, how do we address this problem? And the answer we get is, it's the PTO's problem. PTOs are what funds playgrounds, which I didn't know, that came as a surprise to me. So that's kind of where we started. Beyond that, that's kind of when I started the conversations around looking at different vendors. I started talking with the project manager for Bend Parks and Rec, who's responsible for all the parks here, just to kind of get a better understanding of the ins and outs of like, what does it take to get a playground going? Who should I be talking to, et cetera, et cetera. So that's what led us to eventually be paired up with Martha at MRC Recreation. We had one other vendor we were looking at Ross Recreation, which I believe we've ruled out at this point, primarily due to pricing. And then beyond that, that's kind of when I stepped off the board, and then Renee was so kind to join the board and take the main chair position for the committee, and it's been running with it ever since.
So we got some feedback from some staff to include, like, primarily we're looking at like tiling for ease of accessing the playground, and then some feedback about shade is needed for students when it's hot out. And I forgot my third point actually, so I'll tell you that in a minute. But I got the point is that we got, quiet spaces, like for less stimulation, sorry. And then Joy and I took a grant writing class this summer and learned a lot of information from that. Elise and I talked with Northwest Playground Equipment and got more information from them and new proposals. And then at that October meeting, we decided to continue to go with MRC Recreation. We just liked the designs better from them. And we've been working with Martha, and she's great to work with. And compared, the poured in place surfaces, done a lot of like conversations, research, the tiling. I'm probably going off topic and too deep into it, but the tiling is easiest to like maintain and replace. Over time, it's less costly than doing like a surface. And then, let's see, we are looking at opening this account so that we can start to fundraise and hold funds, and looking at, opening a website and social media to really get the community excited and involved as much as I am about it. So that's where we're at.
And for context, the reason why we're asking to open up a separate account is you're going to see the price tag for this thing. No shot. It's not cheap, right? And so this is not going to be a, hey, 6 months down the road, we have all this money to fund the playground. It is going to be a lengthy process. So just some food for thought there, throwing it out there now, so we can avoid some sticker shock here. All right, so Renee's done a wonderful job working with Martha over at MRC. We have the actual renders of what your new playground could look like. So excited to share this is what your new playground could look like if this thing passes.
So right here is a structure that has a ramp going through it, and then over in the corner there with that green shade has some benches and tables, and the shade is fabric, so it can be taken down in the winter, put back up. And then we have a couple of, climbers as well. And then the swings with the bark chip will still stay there to save money, and they have some accessibility there already.
So for like visualization, the yellow would be your blacktop right now at the playground. So continuous surface, your bark chips are where your swings are. And there's another angle of it. And then your top-down view, just so you can get an idea of where this is the current floor plan or layout of the Jewel playground, and then that's kind of gives you an idea of where it would sit. And then total estimation of costs, everything itemized. So again, not a cheap thing to replace. Something to keep in mind with this is that playgrounds estimate lifespan on these things, 30 years roughly. So take that cost into account and spread it across 30 years. I know the committee is looking at different ways to reduce that cost as much as possible. Like for example, trying to save on installation by leveraging people in the community or leveraging district resources, things along those lines. But this is kind of what we're looking at from a price perspective.
And this is with a discount from MRC with their proposal.
You want to talk about next steps?
We're going to do it together, but sure. So we're really close to that design is pretty close to being final. It's still like, if you want to give me some input on it, I mean, please, it's not set in stone. But we're very close, which is exciting. And then I reached out to the Central Oregon Disability Support Network to see if they would also review the design. I've emailed some general contractors to get some quotes today. For grant writing, we'll need that regardless, but we welcome any volunteering or contacts or connections anyone has for help with that work. I sent Doug an email today with what you just saw, to give him an update and make sure we're still in compliance with the district, and ask him about installation. And yeah, like I said before, the website and social media and a way to hold funds is what we're hoping for next as well.
So the site, the idea is there is we'll have an actual domain, jewelplayground.com.org, something like that, something that's specifically tailored so that whether you're an individual, a parent, educator, or a company, you can come to this website, have all the latest updates, all the information around what the project is, again, goals, etc. We'll probably upload a copy of this presentation or something that's very similar to it, but we'll also provide means of being able to donate to the account that we're trying to get passed.
I have a quick question, even though it's kind of in the middle.
Yeah.
Is this something that could be brought, I don't know how political crap works, but is this something that could be brought that the community as the county can vote on in the next bond measure? We had to do the addition for the cafeteria.
Yep.
I mean this is so much money. It would take 30 years for PTO to raise money.
No,
Yeah.
well,
That's it.
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, go for it. I think you were going to answer.
No, all I was going to say was that, the idea behind, as what Mike was talking about, was you would set up a donor page on the website where, and I've already reached out to, D.R. Horton's, yes, we'll definitely participate because they're building 30 homes just at East here, right? You've got Les Schwab, I've reached out to them as well. So I think you've got bigger companies within Central Oregon that know that they have customers of theirs that have gone to school here and or parents. And so I think it's going to create this competition between some of the bigger donors. So I think you'll see it can actually get funded faster than you think. And also what we'll see too is that it's up to anyone in the entire community can participate. So it doesn't have to be just parents of Jewel's school students, right? So I think there's multiple ways that if we do it right, continue to promote it, social media, get the word out, I think we can build enough exposure and excitement to get more people to donate faster.
To answer your question, though, that was part of the conversation at the district levels. Could we push for a bond?
Right.
They weren't confident that it would pass potentially, and the money that they'd be asking for, comes down to just prioritizing, like, there's other things that also need to be addressed, so how you distribute or allocate that money, but they weren't super confident that they were gonna get it passed. Right.
And if the
Yeah.
if the district had money to update our playground, then we would just work with them, but this is on us, and so since it's our time, I'm gonna dream big and see where we can get.
Ways you can help, so just again, real quick, you don't need to be part of the committee to participate or provide feedback, so Renee's done an awesome job with booking us a dedicated room at the Deschutes Public Library, so next meeting is January 8th at 8 p.m., or at 5 p.m. rather, so feel free to join us. For those, that have families or a busy life, virtual option via Zoom is always an option too, so feel free to join us. Again, help with donations, outreach, anything helps, and again, you don't need to be a committee member to provide feedback, so feel free to talk to any one of us on the committee. We're always happy to talk to you.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
The last thing that we'll vote on is the addendum for the playground. So I emailed that to every single member, and I believe you guys have a copy.
It's in the packet.
You guys also have a copy in front of you. Essentially, that's just saying that we would have a separate bank account to hold all of these funds. PTO would not be able to touch that money. There's steps that we would have to go through if we decided to dissolve that. And that would be down at the very bottom. You guys want to look that over real quick, and then we can vote on it. Go. I would need a first and a second motion to be able to put this into play. Okay. We can talk about this. Whatever you guys want. Vote.
With that price tag, just say, it would be great if we could find enough donors to raise enough money, say, just in 6 months or a year, whatever. Did they say how long that, once the design is finalized, how good that quote is good for them, and will they honor it for 2 years, or?
Yeah, it's a good question. I know Renee probably has a better answer. There is a percentage increase year over year, just due to inflation or whatever other costs, but Renee, you could probably talk to them about that.
I think it's about 5%. So yeah, if it spans over a year, that is a consideration.
Okay.
And then you said there were some cost savings on installation for volunteer work and all that stuff. About what are they expecting that to be?
Well, right now, I'm just estimating it's 40%. That's what I was told by the department. 40%, but I put out questions today to contractors to see what the exact would be. And then if we can get it done, maybe that's what we apply for grants, which I'm hoping to do. We could list that as
With the dissolution of funds, I don't know if this is common, but it's a little, if, say, some donor puts some insane amount of money into $50,000 towards our playground, and then we see that it's no longer an option, then that $50,000 doesn't go back to that big donor, it kind of gets absorbed, and the board of directors can choose how that money goes into the PTO. Is that how that's?
That is how that's worded. I think that if we had a large donor, I think we probably would reach out to them and be like, this is not happening, that's been nulled, and we would.
Legal documents that, would state with our partnership, with their partnership with whatever donor, that would state what would happen to their funds would this group dissolve. So that's a separate legal relationship that we would not be affiliated with, but the playground, they would be in charge of adhering to their contract or whatever string, legalese with the donation. So the donation would stipulate and say,
We'll make this donation.
We'll make this donation, and if this, if there would be a whole list of, if this happens, then this, if this happens, then that. So, but this is, if the playground committee is dissolved, what happens to us? Because
we're here to talk about like how it affects the PTO, like the legal relationship between the PTO and the playground committee, not a third party. That makes sense.
Jesse, a question for you. Do you know if any of the other schools in the district and/or would this be allowed? Let's say that we had a group of donors and some of ours donors, where there could be a plaque that could be built, this permanent plaque that lists like the donors, thank you to these in-kind donation and/or financial donations. Is that something that's allowed to put up?
Yeah, we have some, I mean, it's not on the same scale, but we have some benches that have been donated that have a plaque that say in memory of or thank you to the people that.
Because I think some of these donors would like to see, you know, their name continue to be there and support them, and then also it's a proud moment for them as well.
Yeah, I can find out exactly how that would work, but I don't see a problem with that.
Good.
Would we need the district approval if PTO is fully funding it? To
Probably
put-
just because it's on school property. So my guess would be, yeah, we would have to check in with them just to see how that process would work.
Mike and Renee, on your last slide, it stated that you were seeking quotes for removal. So the price tag that you showed was just for the new playground?
There's an estimate on there for that because Martha told us it's about 40% for installation.
So what about the removal?
Removal of the existing.
Removal's not, I'm working on it now, it's not.
Okay, so it could increase drastically the cost of the
I
playground?
don't know that I'd say drastically, but we haven't finalized that piece of it yet.
Just to be clear, what we're voting on tonight is just to open this bank account. We're not
Yes,
voting on
we are not
approving
voting.
any of
We are
our money to go
just-
into this.
No.
Just voting.
Separate.
Yeah.
Yeah, so this is just a legal question.
Okay.
Okay. So I guess I'm just a little surprised. The district has, Jesse had a bit more information about this, but they don't have any, excuse me, budget for this in any way, shape, or form for any of the schools.
So,
And maybe that's a long question.
yeah, it's a little bit of a longer answer, but I can take my best shot. They have kind of looked at the throughout the district, looked at the district playgrounds. Ours is not on the lowest end. So if they were doing a bond, which they will at some point, the bond, they go to each site and they kind of prioritize, what does this school site need? And it's from everything from, there's cracks on our sidewalks and those are tripping hazards, that needs to be repaired, it's this much. HVAC needs to be reviewed or replaced, it's this much. Security cameras on the interior and exterior need to be updated, it's this much. And they prioritize every school site depending on what that school site needs. So playgrounds is certainly one of those things, but for our site, it hasn't been the top priority, and it's a large ticket item. So there are some schools that probably in the next bond would be included, and playgrounds would be included in that bond measure. What they would get may not be what our PTO is looking at. So what they would get is like a minimum standard, like, yep, okay, you've got a slide in there, that's gonna be updated because that one's cracked. But it wouldn't necessarily update it to like modern standards, the way we would see it in a park. Jules Playground meets the minimum standard and is better than others. And so it wouldn't be on probably the bond. So there isn't a mechanism for saying, well, Jules Playground needs a little bit, so we're gonna put 20,000 towards that and then other things. It's really, okay, we're replacing that playground element where that's gonna cost this much and we're gonna do as much of the labor as we can. And this is how much it's gonna cost, we put it in the bond and then move on. Does that answer your question?
Anybody else? Okay, all in favor, raise your hand. All opposed, raise your hand. Okay, all in favor, one, motion is approved. We will table everything else for next month. Have a good night. Thank you guys.